What is going on? I want to welcome you from half court for today, Thursday, November 3rd, 2022. I am your host, Sean Murphy, alongside my guy, Jeff Iafrady. Jeff, it's so good to see you, man. So good to have you on the video. Bro, life's just been hectic, man. We've both been busy. It's
Yep.
just good to have you back on and just doing this video together, brother.
Dude, vice versa. And we got a lot of good things to talk about, especially now that the season started. See, it's much easier when you get to watch these games and kind of dissect things rather than just talking about the same old thing about the expectations for the season. But now we're here. Now we get to see everything. So it's been exciting, man. I got to go to a couple Pistons games and we got plenty of season left. So
Well,
plenty
also
of content
now
left.
well, also now that, like, Cade's been playing well too, I
Oh,
feel
yeah.
like
It's even
I feel
better.
like we're out of the, "Oh my god, the sky is falling" stage. So I feel like
Yeah.
we can actually start to have natural conversations and, like, stop acting like everything around us is crumbling, you know? Like, we can actually, like, have adult conversations about basketball. And
Mhm.
with that, I think now that we've had a decent sample size of the season, I think there's some players that we got to talk about. One in particular is Isaiah Stewart because Jeff, I know to start the season, the first couple of games, he's been, he had a particularly rough stretch, but Jeff, if you look at part of the success and part of the reason why Detroit's turned around over these last couple of games, it hasn't just been because of the improved play of Cade Cunningham. It's been the improved play of Isaiah Stewart as well on
Yeah.
both ends of the court.
Yeah, and you could accredit that too to the competition that Troy Weaver's brought in. And that's what I love most about this roster is it does not matter the positions you already have. You're going to take the best players. And with Jalen Duren now here, Nerlens Noel, you got Marvin Bagley last by the trade deadline. It's more competition for Beef Stew, and he's took that as a challenge. And you see him now shooting 3-point shots, which is something we've all looked forward to seeing. I know he's shooting a low percentage, but we kind of expected that. I mean, this is a guy who took them in high school, took them in college, and didn't really take them a whole lot in his early in his NBA career. But I'm excited to see the player Isaiah Stewart's turning into because we now know at first you drafted him, he's a center, but after watching him for now 3 years, he's going to be able to play 4 or 5, and he brings a lot of versatility. You can play him in a lot of small ball lineups. It's been a joy to watch Isaiah Stewart, especially against the Warriors, where he had like a double double with 20 points. So he just keeps getting better. It's exciting to
Yeah.
watch.
And Jeff, I would argue because we talk a lot about the importance of, his 3-point shot. I think the thing that's really been benefiting him that, perhaps went under the radar was his mid-range shot.
Yeah.
This Detroit team is doing a lot of their work in the mid-range. It's not just Cade. Isaiah Stewart has the ability to hit that in the mid-range too. He's been cash. And the thing that's been impressive is not only has his attempts gone up inside the arc, but in addition, so has his efficiency. And I think part of that's been, getting better looks in the mid-range, being able to knock down those shots. I think part of that as well has been the fact that Isaiah Stewart's been more aggressive and more, but also more intelligent as a rolling man. So I think, you've just seen that he's taken far more of initiative on that end. And even though like the 3-point shot hasn't necessarily fallen yet, it's the fact that first of all, he's become a threat to take and make that shot. But also, as he keeps going on, like the problem isn't the mechanics. Like
Right.
he perhaps, like I was listening to the Bud and Cardigan earlier this week, and James Edwards III, shout out to our guy, he brought up the argument that he might have the best, he might have the second best shot mechanically on the team, which I'm not going to argue against because if you look at it, like the dude has a great form, and
Yeah.
if he just keeps building upon that, like he's going to have a great base. He even said that he talked to John Beeline and he asked Beeline if he's ever worked with a big man that's had this good of a form this quickly, and he said, "Nope, never seen it." How much he's been able to develop and how much where his shot is now versus where it is day one is night and day. So Isaiah Stewart's been putting in work, and I think we're starting to see what he can look like in that Al Horford esque type role that he talked about in the offseason.
Yeah, and you hit on it. That's where I was going too. He often compares himself and the career he wants to have to kind of elongate his career as Al Horford. And Al Horford's always had a solid shot. And he got better as he got older, especially spacing out hitting threes. And I think Isaiah Stewart can trend that same direction. But another thing to point out is now playing alongside Jaden Ivey. Like you have two guys that legitimately draw defensive attention, and it's going to lead to easier baskets. And that's probably the most positive sign for Isaiah Stewart, finishing around the basket, which he's improved on, and now being able to step out and hit the 3-point shot. He's averaging a double-double so far. Like there's a lot of things he's improved on, and I think a lot of it has to do with just simply adding talent. Can't wait till Bagley gets back, because I think that's going to benefit him even more, to be honest with you.
Well, I think also too, just the fact that it's not just the fact that you have guys like Ivy, but you have 3, maybe even 4 legitimate like threats on the offensive end each night. And I think now that you're seeing that, defenders are having to draw attention to more than just Cade, the
Right.
fact that they have to respect a lot of the lineup, I also think that's been opening up more opportunities for Isaiah Stewart. And I think one thing that, it's like we can point out at this current stage is that, yeah, we've seen that like Jalen Duren has a lot of reasons to potentially start at some point. You know what I mean? Or to enter that starting lineup with Isaiah Stewart. But make no mistake about it, Isaiah Stewart at this point is a more skilled basketball player as far as the things that he has, in
Mhm.
his bag, the things that he's able to do. And like the thing about it is like, is he the greatest rim protector at all times? Like, not necessarily. By the way, I mean, I would say that like he's a better rim protector than people give him credit for. And I
Yeah.
think defensively, like, I don't think a lot of the, problems are always his fault. I think sometimes it's about guys staying in front of their man on defense. And, I think, also I think, having Duren alongside him in the starting lineup could potentially make him even more of a threat, with guarding in the interior, with that confidence, having someone like that backing you up, right? So I think, especially with what we've seen from Stewart of late, especially over these last, 3 games with him, taking more of that aggression on the offensive end, like that's going to be the thing that's going to make that lineup work. Is
Yeah.
can Isaiah Stewart, help space the floor, help be an offensive threat so that if Duren can only really operate in the paint or like 5 to 10 feet away from the
Yep.
rim, we can still have spacing on the floor alongside Cade and Ivy.
And just imagine the lineup too. Like if you have Cade, Jaden, Sadiq, Isaiah Stewart, and Jalen Duren, like the amount of tension that's all around. Like for Duren, his paint presence, you have Sadiq Bey, who gets attention enough because you can't leave him open. And then you have Jaden Ivey and Cade, who are two legitimate playmakers that are going to penetrate. Like Isaiah Stewart's going to get open shots. That's the benefit too. And I do think a part of the reason why he's playing better. And this isn't a knock on Jeremy Grant, but the fact that with Jeremy Grant, it's a guy who needs the ball in his hands. Let's be honest with you. And now with
Mhm.
him gone, with Bojan, somebody who could play either way, off ball or on ball, it kind of with Jeremy Grant gone, it kind of let these guys know, like, listen, this is your team. Like Isaiah Stewart had no choice but to step up with the role he's been playing. Marvin Bagley not being here, Nerlens Noel not really playing. Duren just went out, so the opportunities have been here for Isaiah Stewart. I'm curious to see what Isaiah looks like down the stretch with Duren playing big minutes, with Bagley playing bigger minutes, and seeing how his role changes. I don't think it will, but he's
Right.
definitely picked up the slack that's been there without those guys.
Yeah, most certainly. And I think as well, I think it's just the fact that, it's again, it's that evolution that we're seeing in his game. You know what I
Yep.
mean? It's just the fact that he's taking that next step and he's taking that responsibility on both ends of the court. And the other thing that he's been doing really well, Jeff, I mean, one thing that's been, something of a conversation of late has been we need that rebounding in that offensive unit.
Yep.
Isaiah Stewart's been stepping up on the boards and is averaging a double-double this season thus far. So he's taken that challenge and, so far, majority of his games, he's had double-digit rebounds. He's grown in that area.
Yeah. And I thought that stuff would go down, like considering how much Isaiah would be spaced out on the perimeter, but he still finds a way to get involved. And that's kind of the things Isaiah Stewart brings, just besides now being able to step out. It's like a guy that can switch multiple positions. He's a great rebounder. He's a good enough shot blocker at his height. And that's a guy that whether he's playing the 4 or the 5, like there's value there. So again, you need a guy like Isaiah. If you want to go small ball, I'm expecting Duren to get in there eventually. But to be able to have the flexibility to play him at the 4 or the 5, play him in different lineups, I mean, he brings that. It's kind of been the whole key word of Troy Weaver's tenure here is flexibility. What you can do with these players, and Isaiah Stewart's a big part of that, man. He really is.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And, he's someone that, has been. I think he's one of the players that ever since he's entered the starting lineup has been one of the most scrutinized players
Right.
on the team as far as like what his effect is, whether or not he can protect the paint, be that like anchor, and it's like the reality of there you can still, especially in this league, have more than one big, on your team that can affect things. I mean, we saw last year, and this is ultimately like what the concept of this build would be
Right.
is the Robert Williams Al Horford relationship, where Robert Williams was that presence in the interior, was that lobbing big that can get to the rim, and then Al Horford was that guy who can play more so outside of the paint, but also can bang in the post as well. Like that's the thing. Like we've talked a lot about how much this league is guard based, how much it's perimeter focused. But Jeff, the big man position is alive and well. I would just say it's evolved.
Yeah, and guys like Isaiah Stewart don't grow on trees all the time. Like the guys like an Al Horford, that type where you're 6'9", you're 6'10", you're kind of a tweener, but to be able to space out, and like you said, I like the comparison too with Robert Williams and Al Horford. That's kind of the Duran Isaiah Stewart build you're looking to have. And again, you could play Horford at the 4, and he's much older now, but younger of Isaiah Stewart, more athletic, can guard on the perimeter. We saw that get better towards the end of last season. But the thing that frustrates me too about the criticism that Isaiah Stewart gets is last season, he was really the only true big. Like that's the thing that people don't understand. Like I always say, what are you asked to do? Well, he was asked to guard 7-footers night in and night out as your true center. Now
Yeah.
you have more size around him. And I think that's going to help him and benefit him greatly.
Yeah, it was a godsend when his backup big was Marvin Bagley, who's not even a true
Right.
five. His
Right.
preferred position's the 4. Like, just having that alongside was just the absolute godsend. Like, when it was Trey Lyles that
Oh,
came in as
oh,
his other rim protecting help, that was when he was done diddly. That's just the way it is. But, overall, I think it's the fact that, we see, even if he's not like, Al Horford, let's say he's
right.
like a Grant Williams type player, like that is still a lot of value as well. Like even let's say Isaiah Stewart, ends up being a rotation piece, someone that we bring off our bench. That's someone that, would be probably one of the best backup bigs in the league. And, if that's his ceiling, which I don't think that's his ceiling, because I think we've seen, from Isaiah Stewart, we've just seen steady growth, steady
Right.
improvement, how much he works in the gym, how much he works at his game. I think he's only going to keep getting better and better. And I think we're only going to see more efficiency from beyond the arc. That's only going to make him more of a threat. I mean, we're already seeing, without his 3-point shot falling, he's at 13 points a game. Once it starts falling,
Mhm.
we could be seeing Isaiah Stewart being a 15-10 guy. If that's what he is, it's going to be hard to get him out of the starting lineup, Jeff.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, if he's your backup, Sean, you're in a good position. Like to have a guy like that coming off your bench. And the one thing you can't teach, and it's kind of a common theme with this Pistons team, is just work ethic, man. And Isaiah Stewart, one thing we've seen videos of. Shout out to James Edwards for this, Mike Curtis, even Brandon to a certain extent. You're getting video of Isaiah Stewart and Duran after practice, just shooting. Like you saw and you've seen how hard he's worked on his shot. And that's what gives me even more confidence that Isaiah Stewart's going to be just fine. Like this is a guy that I don't question how hard he works. Even, I mean, look at 6'9", to be able to get where he is playing the center position now in the NBA, he can play both. The guy's got work ethic. So I'm excited, man, to see his growth here in Detroit and adding more talent around him. In my opinion, is just going to make him even better.
Jeff, the dude's a piston. Like when you look at who he is as a person, the way that he
He
plays,
embodies it.
he's the guy that's willing to do the dirty work. He doesn't get his buckets in a way that when the offense is designed for him either. Like he plays in the flow
Mhm.
of the game and he does whatever it takes to win. And that's the exact type of guy that you want, especially as you're moving forward.
Right.
And quite frankly, if anything, what I've seen from Isaiah Stewart this season, I'm encouraged with the potential of him playing alongside Duran. And again, even if he doesn't, I still think he's going to have a lot of value on this
Mhm.
team, and be someone that we want to have going forward. So, yeah, man, I'm just really optimistic about that. And Jeff, before we end this video, of course, we had to release our podcast today before the Steve Nash Ime Udoka news dropped. So really
Yep.
quickly, What are your thoughts on all this going down? Doesn't this just feel weird?
Yeah, it feels wrong. It feels like the NBA should have definitely stepped in and done something from an NBA standpoint, because since he's only suspended from the Celtics, like this is the loophole he's able to have. And
Well, yeah,
as,
because the technicality is like since it was like internal, like it was like an internal incident,
right,
therefore it was like the Celtics, responsibility to handle, but like him
it
only
should,
serving 2
yeah.
weeks of that suspension, and especially, like, some of the things that have been coming out, like,
Mhm.
things that we have learned, it's like, "Oh, well, he was saying vulgar things to multiple women in the Celtics organization." It's like, "Oh, should he? Should we be bringing him in,
And the
like,
sad
right
part about this,
now?"
John, is if they win, that stuff is all going to slowly disappear, and it shouldn't. But if the Nets start winning with Ime Udoka, people are going to forget about this. I bet Celtics players won't, because that's a guy they love very much. But that's the reality. It's not fair, but it says a lot about the Nets as an organization too. Like
You are
they're in a pretty desperate spot. They really are.
you are absolutely right, Jeff, but on the other side, if they don't
Oh,
win,
yeah, yeah.
this is going to get very ugly very quickly. Also, my favorite thing that came out today with the Nets as well is this fake apology that Kyrie released, where like him and the Nets both committed to donate $500,000 towards causes and organizations that work to eradicate hate and intolerance in our communities. And Irving's response was, I oppose all forms of hatred and oppression and stand strong with communities that are marginalized and impacted every day. I am aware of the negative impact of my post towards the Jewish community, and I take responsibility. I do not believe everything said in the documentary was true or reflects my morals and principles. I am a human being learning from all walks of life, and I intend to do so with an open mind and a willingness to listen. So, from my family and I, we meant no harm to any one group, race, or religion of people, and wish to wish to only be a beacon of truth, and light.
So
You know what?
is there an I'm sorry in there or no?
No, not even the word apology.
Oh my
He
god.
just says, "I take responsibility." That's not an apology. It's like, "Yep, I did it. I acknowledge that it hurt people. That's not me."
Yeah, it's like me saying it's my fault all the time. Like eventually you're gonna have to just man up and say something. Like you can't just say I take responsibility.
It's
Like, yeah,
like
you
that
do. Clearly it was you. Like there's no one else to point the finger at.
it's like you ever see that episode of The Office where like Dwight, he's like, "All right, Dwight, you must now did you prepare a statement of regret?" He's like, "I did." He's like, "All right, I state my regret."
That's
All
Kyrie.
right, that's it. That's exactly yeah, that's what Kyrie's doing. So, yeah,
Oh,
unbelievable. But with that, what do you think of Isaiah Stewart? What do you think about what's going on with the New York with the Brooklyn Nets right now? Let us know in the comment section down below. But also, be sure you subscribe so you're getting more content of that beautiful face, Jeff Iafrady, right there. And if you're feeling so generous, be sure you follow my guy Jeff on Twitter at Jeff Iafrady, and also my guy myself,
yes,
Sean
sir.
Halfcourt, right down there. But also, folks, be sure you check Jeff on the Morning Woodward Show Monday through Friday, 8 to 10 a.m. With that, folks, we want to thank you all so much for tuning in. We'll catch you guys next time from Half Court. Be sure you subscribe.
Do it.